Hey everybody, my name is Russ. That is Lauren. Welcome to our Thursday music discussion video. This one's a follow-up on what I did a while back, which got a lot of good feedback, which was 5 great soundtracks from the 80s. So I thought I'd follow that up with 5 great soundtracks from the 90s. Some of these are ones that people know for sure, but I'm definitely going to start off with one that I don't think gets anywhere near the love or the remembrance that it should, and that's the Judgment Night soundtrack. And I actually even meant to ask you this before we started this. Have you ever seen the movie Judgment Night with Jeremy Piven?
I
Dennis
am not
Leary?
familiar with the
Okay.
film Judgment Night.
Okay, I like the movie a lot. The movie got mixed reviews. We'll watch it sometime. It's a really good movie.
Okay.
I like it a lot. Anyways, the soundtrack though, I've discussed with you before about like when Run DMC first started working with Aerosmith and all the things we went through, bands like Faith No More and Rage Against the Machine and whatnot. And then everybody always goes, yeah, but it led to Limp Bizkit. Well, yeah, but in the middle, there was a lot of really good stuff. And the Judgment Night soundtrack is one of those things that I know tons of people who have never seen the movie and they still love the soundtrack.
Okay.
The reason why is because the soundtrack is a whole bunch of rap and rock artists together working on mostly originals. Like there's a couple of covers in there, but it's mostly originals. Run DMC and Living Color have a track together. Ice-T and Slayer have a track together. Cypress Hill and Pearl Jam have a track together, which is huge. The one that I love the most, opening track on the album and the opening track to the movie, like it plays while the opening credits are happening, is there's a song called Fallen that's by De La Soul and Teenage Fan Club. And the song is more or less about like how De La Soul did what a lot of acts did. They blew up, they believe their hype, believe their own hype, and then they just kind of like disappeared. So there's a one of the first lines in the song is I lost touch with reality. Now my personality is an unwanted commodity, you know, like, and then the Fallen is every time he gets to the chorus, he's like, this, that, and the other thing. And now and then it's Fallen from Free Fallen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's
okay.
like Teenage Fan Club, De La Soul, and a sample from Tom Petty. Like I'm in,
Yes.
you know? So the Judgment Night soundtrack, I love it. If you've been nodding your head this whole time, oh yeah, that's a good one. Awesome. If you haven't and you've never heard this, like you need to go check it out. It's amazing. The other one is one of the largest selling soundtracks of all time. The Bodyguard by Whitney Houston. Now I feel like this was probably sold in its entirety on I Will Always Love You. I would say so. But it's also got Queen of the Night. It also has I'm Every Woman, which is one of those covers that maybe not anymore. I guess most people know that was a cover, but I would imagine there was a good period of time in the 90s where people just thought that Whitney did that song.
I just thought that Whitney did that song.
You didn't know that was a cover?
Nope.
All right. Well, we're going to listen to the original right after this video.
Who did it?
We're going to listen to the original right after this video. And so, but then there's also Queen of the Night, which was more of a rock song from Whitney. And then My Jam by Whitney from any album is I Have Nothing. And I understand fully, like Dolly is one heck of a songwriter. Whitney's translation of Dolly's lyrics, the way it all ties in with the film, I understand how and why I Will Always Love You is such a big deal, but holy cow. I think if someone had never even heard of Whitney Houston and said, what was the big deal with that woman? I Have Nothing is the one I'd play before anything else.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's just, I think it's stunning. The next one is one that who was really known for one song and for one song that wasn't known when the soundtrack came out. And that's Wayne's World. And the song that it became known for is the Bohemian Rhapsody soundtrack, which history is so 2020 with there's a lot of revisionist history. I can tell you I was there. No one in the USA cared about Queen anymore
Okay.
at all.
Yep.
Like that's just a fact. No one was listening to Bohemian Rhapsody. When that song was in the movie, like all of us in the theater were just like, oh, do I know? No. And then it just became an enormous hit. And it was so good because it really reintroduced Queen to a whole new generation and people that had forgotten them. Like my sister had all the same records everybody else had: Day at the Races, Night at the Opera, News of the World, all that stuff from the 70 Queen 1 and 2. But like she got her love of Queen reignited by that. But there's other stuff on there too. Cinderella have a great cover of Hot and Bothered on there. Alice Cooper, Feed My Frankenstein's on there. Much smaller resurgence, but Dreamweaver by Gary Wright. That's another song that most people didn't know or remember. And then it is in the movie for like 4 seconds, like as long as it takes to get to the Dreamweaver. That's it. But it was a big deal. It was a big deal on the soundtrack. Bullet Boys have a song on there. It's just a great soundtrack. And then I didn't want to sneak the full second soundtrack in there, but the second Wayne's World soundtrack is good too, especially if you're an Aerosmith fan, because this was in the Get a Grip era. And there's a couple of great live tracks from Aerosmith that are not available anywhere but the Wayne's World 2 soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's worth checking out too. The last two are going to be ones that everybody's going to be like, well, yeah, I know. One, The Crow. Everybody in the world had this soundtrack. If you are alive today and you were born before 1990, every car you rode in, whether you owned it or not, the soundtrack had a copy of The Crow in it.
That's true.
And you just recently saw the film for the
Yep.
first time, but every car you rode in the 90s had a copy of The Crow. There's so much that people love on it. For me, the biggest ones to remember is even though I love STP's second album, the first time I heard the song Big Empty was on this soundtrack. And I always think of this movie when I hear that song
Okay.
before anything else. I love The Cure in the first place, and then their track Burn on here. But the standout track for me is one of those ones that's kind of a funny thing. Like, I don't love the band Joy Division, and I never really have. But Nine Inch Nails covers Joy Division on this soundtrack, and a Joy Division song called Dead Souls, and their cover is so good. I love the cover, but then it made me go back and like the Joy Division original.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. The last one is the Pulp Fiction soundtrack, which again, every car you rode in had this soundtrack in it. And I would also say that this is probably one of those soundtracks that kicked off that thing where we used to have original songs written for movies.
Okay.
And I feel like Pulp Fiction was one of the ones that used older songs in such a good way that kind of shifted going forward in soundtracks, where less original songs were written for movies.
Okay.
And, you know, that's not scientific. It's just something I think I noticed along the way. But Kool and the Gang with Jungle Boogie, Chuck Berry with You Never Can Tell, Dusty Springfield, Son of a Preacher Man. I'd say that gave her career a certain resurgence as well. Ricky Nelson, Al Green. I mean, it's such a diverse soundtrack. And then there's so much of what Tarantino is known for. His Tarantino dialogue is all dispersed
Oh, fun.
throughout the soundtrack. So it's all, I mean, it's just really, really, really fantastic. Like, there are soundtracks that people remember way less of the movie. Like I said, even Judgment Night. I know a lot of people who've never even seen the movie but love the soundtrack. Pulp Fiction, to me, the soundtrack does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's a very good companion to the movie.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's a follow up on those soundtracks that I shared from the 80s and and the 90s was loaded with great soundtracks, just like the 80s was as well. So drop a comment, let me know what you think about my picks, and let me know some of your favorite picks from the 90s. Like I said at the top of the video, that is Lauren. My name is Russ. If you would please drop a like on the video. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.